today was a day of really, when you think about where we're at practicing wise, we have actually, 18 days left before we have a game. And today was a little bit of special teams practice as well as situations. I think going forward now, we cannot create enough game-like situations with our football team, put them in position to, whether it's personnel changes during the course of a series of plays, a lot of clock management situations, whether it be ending of a half, ending of a game. I just think situation football is critical, that we're all on the same page. So it was a good day to kind of take care of that. Tomorrow we'll get into our normal routine of a practice. But today was more of a situation, special teams period. Saturday will be more of a mock game procedure on how we go into the stadium, how we do our pregame warm-up, everything we do in the pregame, and then create somewhat of a game-like atmosphere in the stadium, a stadium with no fans in, because the likelihood of some of the places we play will have no fans, which really is tough to deal with for everyone, for a fan that loves the game of football, and even for the players. I mean, you're excited when you can walk into the stadium when you have a fan base, whether you're on the road or at home. That's part of the emotion. That's part of the energy in stadiums. And now we'll have to create our own energy. So I think it's important that we walk into a stadium, have a practice, somewhat of a mock game without any fans to see what it really feels like. I know I've talked to a lot of coaches that have played in that type of situation, and it takes a little time to get used to it. And so that'll be interesting for us Saturday.
All right, we'll start taking questions. So when I call on you, just make sure you say your name and outlet. So if you got questions, start putting your hands up. We'll start with Tresson.
Hey, Coach, good to hear from you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Well, thank you. But I'm used to seeing you guys. What happened to that?
We changed it up a little bit.
Why? I like seeing their faces. Well, go ahead, Tress. I hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all good, Coach. Yeah, it's a little different. Two-parter question. Number one, what will be your main focus, I guess, in this mock game that you're going to be paying attention to? And number two, do you have a favorite Halloween candy?
Oh, okay. Halloween candy first. My favorite candy, period, is cold Reese cup. Pretty good. That's really good. I mean, Reese cups are, you put them in the fridge, they're really good when they're cold. As far as the mock game goes, all the situations that would occur in a football game. And I think a lot of it has to do with personnel. You know, how do you change personnel? How do you go from whether it's the kickoff team to the offense coming on the field, running some plays, third down situations, just create different scenarios that will happen in the game. And for the most part, it's for coaches too. We're actually going to have our coaches get up in the press box, guys that will be in the box during the game. So we're going to do everything like it's a game. So we can, this is a new staff. There's a lot of new members on the staff, right? A lot of young players that have never even walked into our stadium. And so I think when you do those things, you want to get familiar with that. The pregame warm-up is important, how we go about doing that. So all those things will be taken care of in this mock game situation.
Thanks, Coach.
Mike.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, I got to say the cold Reese's Cups, very solid choice. But, yeah, oh, no, I'm a fan. But
okay.
You said you were looking forward to guys obviously getting in pads. I know you said, 18 days out from the game, but now that the younger guys have gotten in pads, how have they even more so adjusted to the way you practice and obviously the speed of it, a little different from high school, as we all know, but how have they adjusted?
They've done a pretty good job, and I think that's what's great about going out in pads now. Now, today we weren't in pads, we were in helmets, but for the rest of the week we're in pads. And I just think the physicality of it and having stamina for all players now. When you start practicing in shoulder pads, it's a little bit different. Your stamina all of a sudden gets tested. You're carrying some pads. You got all these other pads on. How you function, I think, is important. So the stamina of playing in pads and really, a series of plays, I think, get players in condition. You have to be in football condition. Well, how do you do that? it's a series of plays. It's not 3 and out. It's more of a series of plays and putting stress on them during those periods. You know, when you put pads on, there's great conflict. And when you think about shoulder pads, you know, it's a physical practice, and the physicality and how you handle that, I think, is very important.
Thanks, Coach.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You mentioned the pads. You had that anecdote a couple weeks ago about John Lynch. Has there been anyone so far, now that the pads have came on, that has kind of broken out, that you've kind of made you take a step back and go, wow, he's really improved?
Well, you know, you guys know me by now. I hate, you know, mentioning one guy or two guys when you think about a team. But I think the thing that I'm looking at right now is, and it was asked earlier in the question, how are the young guys reacting? And I think for a lot of them, especially the interior part of it, and at the linebacker situation, because when you have 9-on-7s and you have team run, we had a goal line series. They realize how physical it is. It's different from high school, right? All of a sudden you're a linebacker and you're taking on a puller, big man that comes around there, weighs about 300 pounds, a little bit different. When you're a freshman and that guy's a senior, the contact is just a little bit different. So that's kind of fun to watch.
Zach Keenan.
Hey, Coach. Zach Keenan here with Devil's Digest. Did you watch Michael Turk's combine performance on the bench press live? If you did or didn't, what was your reaction to that one? Because that was a fun one.
Yeah, but if he goes to the next level, he's not going to get paid for lifting weights. That's how he kicks. And he's impressive now. I mean, there's no doubt he can, you know, he can press a lot of weight, but it's going to be how he kicks. And, you know, he's done a good job for us last year. We're fortunate to get him back this year, and hopefully he can have another good year for us. But he's an impressive young man. He likes the weight room.
Cooper.
Hi, Coach. Cooper Ashton with the State Press. So you mentioned a little bit earlier how there aren't going to be fans in a lot of these games. So two-part question. One, how is that fact that there aren't going to be any fans affecting your guys' preparation for these games? And then follow up with that, how do you feel about other conferences like the SEC, ACC, Big 12 that are allowing fans to attend, but the Pac-12 not?
Well, I think the fan situation in different conferences has a lot to do with the health officials and what they decide. I'm not going to argue with that. Our conference has not argued with that from the beginning. This is why we're starting late. The season was postponed, but now we found a way collectively as a conference to feel like that we could participate in football. So we're happy about the opportunity. As far as the fans go, being in a stadium and not in a stadium, it's one of those situations where it's until you play a game, you don't know that feeling. I've never experienced it. I don't think any of our players have. So I think this will be interesting. I think we're going to have to bring our own energy. Some of the teams that I've talked to that have played in stadiums with no fans, even at the pro level, when you think about it, there's pro teams that have no fans. And I've talked to some coaches and I said, what does that feel like? They said, well, you can hear everything. You can hear the audibles of the quarterback. You can hear the defenses changing coverages. It's kind of interesting. Now, we'll have some music, some noise, the ambiance noises, you know, of a fan when things happen in a game. But for the most part, both teams have to create their own energy on the sideline.
Thank you, Coach.
Oh,
Rubino Devils Digest. Herm, we talked to Sean Slocum yesterday. He's really excited about special teams, said the depth is probably the best he has since you've been in Tempe. Do you feel that with this year's offense, not a lot of experience besides Jaden and Frank Darby, that maybe this is a year where special teams might be relied on just a little more than other years just because of that predicament?
Well, it's critical that it's a phase of really, we have some guys that have played on special teams last couple of years, which is good. But it's going to be a very critical part of how we play. When you think about what has gone on early in games, there's been a lot of mishaps in special teams play, whether it's block kicks, whatever it may be. You see it, and you don't want to go down that road. That's a bad road to go down. And I think we have some experience over there. We have 2 experienced kickers that have kicked, which helps you. We've had some coverage teams and some units that have played together, but we're going to also allow some young guys to be a part of it as well. We feel we have some young talented athletes that can cover kicks, which is important, especially the punting game. But special teams is a big part. I mean, points, when you think about points now in college football, I believe the top, 10, 15 teams are scoring 40 plus points. After that, it's probably the top, 20 are in the high 30s, in the mid 30s. So, points are being scored in college football. And it goes both ways, a little bit of offense, a little bit of special teams, and creating turnovers on defense help you do that.
Chris Carter.
Coach, one of the themes, Chris Carmen, Sun Level Source. One of the themes that I've noticed from some of your assistants and players is the success in your practices of local players this year. Andre Johnson, Anthony Cooper, Kyle Soley, Connor Soley. Can you talk about those players specifically and just what would I'm sure be a positive having those local guys play?
Well, yeah, anytime you get some local players that have blossomed that can help this program, it's always good for the program. It's good for our community as well. You're not always going to get all of them, but we try. We try to get as many as we can. And then a lot of them venture off to go to other places. We understand that. We never take it personal. But I think when you can get local guys that can contribute to your football program, that is helpful. And we'll continue to recruit local players. The players you mentioned, they're getting better all the time. Solely is one of the captains of our football team, and that's good to see. Local guy becomes the captain. It's taken him some years to do that. He's kind of played different positions at the linebacker position, but now he's one of our captains, and it was well deserved.
Doug Howell.
Hi, Herm. Doug Haller, The Athletic. On any football team, only so many guys can start. How valuable is it to have, particularly with upperclassmen like Corey Stevens or KJ Jarrell, guys who aren't going to play a lot of snaps on Saturday, but still find a way to contribute within the program?
Well, it's critical. And you mentioned Corey Stevens. Can't say enough about Corey. I mean, he was brought here before I got here as an offensive lineman, and then he was moved to the defensive side of the football. And he's the ultimate team player. He really is. And whatever he does in life, he's going to be successful because he gets it. He understands about team. He has great work ethic. I can't say enough about him. KJ, KJ's been in the position now where it's been tough. He was injured a little bit. He's starting to get healthy. But it's a deep pool of athletes back there, in the secondary. No fault of his. It's just we've been very fortunate to recruit some guys that are very talented. And we have another crew of individuals that will come in here next year. Hopefully if we can sign them, that we bring more talent to that position. So it's a tough spot in the secondary. There's a lot of talented guys here, and hopefully there's some coming on the way.
Jesse Morrison.
Hey, Coach, Jesse Morrison, Devil's Digest. I've just noticed, in the first few weeks of watching college football, that there's been some up and down, kind of some sloppy play. Just how do you avoid that happening? And do you think that the longer layoff helps you a little bit?
Well, I don't say that so much. There's been sloppy play even at the professional level, right? They didn't have the ability to play preseason games. We have no games before we start conference play. And I think if you look at most games early, the team that comes away making less errors has a better chance to win. And how do you combat that? As I said, you have to practice situations. You have to be very focused. But the players, until they get into that environment, of conflict, of the physicality of playing football, you don't know how to go react. We have a lot of young guys that will have an opportunity to play. I haven't seen them react yet in that environment. I don't know how they're going to react. I really don't. I wish I could tell you, but I don't know. But once I see it and understand it, then you deal with it. And you just want to make sure they react in the right way, in a way that if a negative play occurs, they don't allow it to become a series of negative plays, right? Because that's the problem. One occurs and another one occurs. Before you know it, you got a bad quarter going. Before you know it, you got a bad game going. So that's the mental toughness that I talk about all the time. I just believe that the teams that are mentally tough and that can withstand the onslaught of maybe some errors and survive it are the teams that have the best chance to win.
Michael.
Yeah, Coach Michael Carrasino, Believe Podcast Network. You talk about obviously finding their own energy. You talked to Frank yesterday, and he said after talking to you and being a captain, he's his normal self now. How important is it to have somebody like that can literally by himself just infect and interject the whole sideline?
Well, it's important, but the problem for Frank is, he's going to be on the field. So I don't want him doing double duty and running down the sideline, getting guys excited because we need his energy. And he's a guy with energy. I mean, I see Frank every morning come in the building. When I'm working out, he's one of the earlier guys. I'm about almost done with my workout when he gets here, and he walks through the weight room. The first thing, we have a little conversation, and he has energy. He just walks in the building with a smile on his face, and it's refreshing to see players that come to work and that have a smile on their face. It just makes me feel good that you know Frank's personality, you know what he's about, but I don't want him to waste his energy either, because he has to find some kind of way to calm down and understand that when the games start, you got to conserve that energy some.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't see you folks today. I'm kind of disappointed in this new look. All these lovely faces you folks have, and I can't even see. You're looking at me with a hat on. I mean, that's not good. This is like doing TV. I don't want to do TV anymore. I'm good.